Mac guys here on Birds 365. We got Broads on a Brody. Broads Media, WIP, good enough to jump in with us today. Thank you, Broads. Here's where I want to start with you today. John and I were just discussing before you came on. I know you heard at least part of it. On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being the loss of Ben Simmons by the 76ers.
Ooh, that is a 0.
How will they ever get over that? 10 being drafting someone other than Jefferson. Yes, the Eagles took a wide receiver in the first round, not named Jefferson, a couple of years ago. In the comeback to bite you in the butt category, from 0 to 10, with Simmons and Jefferson being the bookends, what is Hassan Reddick's moving to the Jets for a future third-round pick going to look like as far as pay for it down the road for the Eagles? Closer to a 0, closer to a 10?
Closer to a 10. I'm on your side, Jody. I think they botched this big time. If their message is we're going for this, by the way, I really wanted to start with WrestleMania. John, I got to get your thoughts on that. I've watched it 3 times in full entirety, and it's on right now. I can't get enough of that final match. It's unbelievable. But anyway, we'll get there. I like how I'm setting the tone on what we're going to talk about. Yeah. I'm closer to Jody, though. I just feel you went all in with the Saquon stuff, and clearly the message always is we're going to compete. We're going to try and win a championship. You have Jalen here and all, and you're bringing Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio. I just don't understand the logic of, unless something else is cooking behind the scenes, of Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, and Josh Sweat being enough to be legit on your on your defensive line, unless something else is happening. So, I don't know, is Bond moving the needle in the mix enough? No. I don't get it. I'm with you, Jody. I'd rather run it with 1 year, and I don't know how you have to work that out with Hassan, but if you're trying to go for it, finding a way to add Hassan Reddick to the names I just mentioned puts that edge rusher category in a whole different tier, that you just let him go after this 1 year. Find a way, whether it's talk to him and figure out how to keep him happy for 1 year, or say, listen, this is just part of the nasty business and this is what it is. I don't know, but I feel you had to find a way to keep him. That's my perspective on it.
Well, I don't necessarily have that big of an issue with people who think you got to find a way to keep Hassan Reddick, but I would ask you from a perspective of, you can't play hardball and say, oh, you have to play the final year of your deal, Broads, and oh, you're going to make less than Bryce Huff. Is that tenable? I mean,
no, it's not. Here's what I would have done.
Here's
what I would have done. You're right. I do think it's a little crazy. I wouldn't have got Bryce Huff. Like, they think Bryce Huff is better than I do. And I think Bryce Huff is going to be a good player. He's not a stiff. He's not bad. But if you're trying to win a championship in this window, I think you pay Reddick and you keep him, because I don't anticipate him having 6 sacks, 7 sacks next year and hitting this huge wall. He accidentally walks into 11 sacks. We look at 11 sacks, 10 sacks as a bad year for him. If you're trying to win now, you keep Reddick and you don't go after Huff. If you had to do that, that's what I think I would have done.
And the problem I have with the critics of, and they're coming out of the woodwork, Hassan was chasing sacks last year. If Hassan was still on the Eagles, do you think there's any way that gets reported that Hassan was? I don't think so. That is purely a 2020 hindsight. Not he's out the door. We can float some crap out there about him chasing sacks.
Yes.
That didn't happen last year.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Vic Fangio is going to use him even more, dropping in coverage, which is going to devalue him. What kind of a drop in cover guy is Bryce Huff? We have no bloody idea.
Well, Jody,
it's a detriment for Hassan to be here because he couldn't do it. No one has any idea Bryce Huff can do that at all.
Yeah, the Bond stuff. Well, it's funny you bring that up, Jody, because I remember once it all happened, and credit to Howie, which pisses me off. He drops the news when the Phillies have their opening day. No one's talking about the Eagles. WIP has the Phillies broadcast on, and then you have to wait till Monday to come around. So, I hate that he won that one. But I took a call over that weekend, and it was, well, Reddick's not really good at stopping the run, and he's getting – and I'm like, hold on a second. If you're going to start complaining now that Reddick can't do X, Y, and Z, you're acting as if Bryce Huff's little if you go back and watch what he does, he's some spectacular run stopper. Everything you're saying about Reddick, Huff is worse at stopping the run than Reddick. So you're just trying to justify it because you want the Eagles to win, and I get that. But Howie doesn't bat 1,000, and I'm a Howie guy. I think a lot of us have become Howie guys. Exactly. Agreed. This is one that I think we might look back on with Howie and go, I don't get it unless there's more behind the scenes. But like you alluded to, Jody, I mean, now we're starting to hear this info. Of course, they're going to start leaking stuff out there.
And that was Jeff McLean on another radio station, and people took it out of context.
Yeah, and McLean's normally the one to give us some juiciness too. So,
because look, that it's true. The Eagles thought people were chasing sacks last year, but they thought everybody was chasing.
But isn't
sacks.
that their job? Hassan Reddick's job is to go get sacks.
What? And this happened long before Hassan left. When the Eagles were very disappointed, I would say, about how their defensive front as a whole played down the stretch. Everybody was bad, but I said I think they were a little bit more disappointed with the defensive front simply because they're the ones with talent. The back seven, we all knew, well, they don't have much there. So I think they were more disappointed with the guys up front who should be able to, give you some more. And that was Hassan Reddick and Jalen Carter and everybody else, and Josh Sweat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was 100% true. And then the NFL as a whole, and Jim Schwartz used to talk about this all the time. I mean, pass rush is about discipline, and you got to keep your lanes, and you can't go freelancing and all that kind of crap. Stop paying guys on sacks. Then, I mean, they make millions of dollars, and they negotiate contracts on how many guys gets. So yeah, guys chase sacks. It's common sense. That's the way the league has set it up. You morons pay these guys to chase sacks, and then you complain about it? Yeah.
Well, now you got the win rate, the quarterback rate. You're putting pressure on the quarterback.
If they paid them on the win rates,
yes,
yeah, maybe that would help.
Would help
discipline.
Here's what bothers me too. And at the time, I remember saying if Nolan Smith is on the board with the first pick, this is before I knew that they could get Jalen Carter. I'm like, hey, he's coming out of Georgia, maybe a little undersized. So I get that. I wasn't even anti Nolan Smith at all at the time, if I'm being 1,000% transparent here. But to put that much stock into Nolan Smith next year, if you're trying to win, and that of course is the caveat here, I don't know. I just don't see him taking that level of a leap to be able to be a force, like a real legitimate force. If Reddick is there and it's Reddick, Huff, Sweat, BG, and Nolan Smith, I feel good. But the loss of Reddick in this whole thing, that's a lot of pressure for Nolan Smith to come in here and be excellent. I'm a little nervous. I'm especially in a position that they value. If this was about a linebacker, hey, they let TJ Edwards go. All right, I don't like it, but we get it. Or they let someone go out the door at a position that they don't really care about. Dude, this is what they're built on. They're built on the trenches. They're built on getting pressure. So for them to just sort of, why not let Josh Sweat go? Why not let Josh Sweat go and find a way to make it Reddick and Huff? My thing is, let it be Reddick and someone. One of those other two, whether it's Huff or Sweat, let them go do something else. But Reddick, I don't get it. I don't know what they saw here, but whatever. We'll wait and see what happened.
Let's be honest. Josh Huff got paid $17 million, whereas they're holding the line with Reddick at 50 for one reason and one reason only. One number only, 4 years younger. That's it. Because you can't compare the two of them. Josh Reddick has had a career in the league. Hassan Reddick. Josh Huff has had one season. One. And he's going to make more money than Reddick? 4 years. That's
and
it.
He played,
and
what,
we'll see if he's a better player next year.
42% of the snaps.
Behind that logic, you have to believe Huff is going to be better than Hassan Reddick because Hassan's ready to drop off the table. He's 30 years old. You can't pay a 30-year-old $20 million per. We'll see if he drops off the table with the Jets. I'm suggesting he won't. and he'll put up better numbers. Whatever analytics statistic you want to use, Hassan Reddick will put up better numbers next year in the Jet defense than Huff will do in the Eagle defense.
I agree. Real quick before we get to the next one, I guess this is my closing thoughts on the Reddick stuff. Is I just feel Hassan Reddick is the game wrecker, right? You always talk about having the game wreckers, and then Josh Sweat can maximize his skill set because of Reddick, or someone like Nolan Smith might be able to take advantage because everyone's focused on Reddick. Who on the line from a defensive end perspective is getting that much attention drawn? I don't think Sweat thrives because of Bryce Huff, or Nolan Smith will thrive because of Huff. I think Huff thrives because of what's around him, and he's good. He's a good player. I really don't want to make it seem like he's not going to make an impact, because I think he will. But the attention that goes to Reddick, none of these guys right now as an edge gets that level of attention where the field can technically, in theory, open up for others. Is that fair to say?
I think it's very fair to say, and that's
cool.
why.
So Cody Rhodes now is the champion.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll do the segue. So Jordan Mailata's wife, Nikki, just posted something on Instagram. Jordan gave himself a headache cheering at WrestleMania Sunday yesterday. So there it is for you, Hunter. That's my segue. What did you think? Cody finished the story.
Let's go.
In the most overbooked, glorious nostalgia ending of all time.
My takeaway is I'm so fucking pissed I went to Saturday. I am so mad I can't even explain to you in words how mad I am that I went to Saturday.
You know who the biggest star though Saturday? You know who the biggest star was Saturday?
Sami Zayn. Who was it?
Rhea Ripley.
I love Rhea. Oh, Rhea Ripley. Come on, baby.
All right. Now I got two wrestling guys here because I got an argument about this yesterday. The leadoff match supposedly has extra gravitas to it. I think that's crap. How do you start what is going to be how many matches they run over the entire weekend? About 14?
13.
The 2 days to about 13, 14. How do you start with that one? That's got the possibility of being the best match you're going to have all weekend. I understand story building, build up everything else. Cody got to finish the story. The best match, and it was, I thought, prior to and after the fact, was Rhea Ripley. Let's put her up there first and get it over and done with.
Got to set the tone,
idiotic.
Man. It's
Idiotic. It's just stupid.
Well,
it's just stupid.
Well, Judy, what did they open with?
Great. They ran a great weekend. It was great that it was here in Philadelphia. The fact that Rhea Ripley went first was just dumb.
I'm old school. I'm old school, but I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to set the tone with something big to get the people fired up. And they did with Rhea. And they had the live, her band, whatever it's called. They're from Scranton, by the way. I think it's Motionless in White. Did the live entrance. So it was phenomenal. The whole thing. She's unbelievable. For the first time, I might say, you know what? The biggest star might be a woman at some point because she's that big of a star. And then they opened Sunday with Seth and Drew, same thing, because they want to come out hot and they get the people fired up. Now, on Saturday, the problem was you were there, Hunter. It was freezing. It was brutal.
I know.
And much nicer day on Sunday. So I think that helped out.
But they also had, look, for everyone knocking the crowd in Philly on Saturday and all, they didn't give us anything. If they gave us The Undertaker choke slamming The Rock in the middle of the ring, I promise you it'll sound like it did on Sunday, regardless of the weather. I actually thought it was a little disappointing-ish until Sami Zayn won. Nothing changed the WWE universe until that, like the tag titles in the ladder match, fine moments, but the Judgment Day dropping it didn't really you know?
Other than Rhea, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think it should be one day, but
I agree. I said the same thing. If you could get rid of the Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, that's when you go to the bank.
Get rid of Jason Johnson.
You can't eliminate that one, Hunter.
Why? Why not?
Get Lane Johnson. You don't get Jason Kelsey.
Find another one to throw them in there.
Yeah.
Maybe they could win the tag team titles. And then
by the way, on Saturday night, you're underselling. You got to see Dwayne Johnson for the first time in well over a decade and that's the biggest star.
Yeah, but you're right. He did, and he was wrestling, and he was fine for 50-something years old. But I will say, the moment of him and Cena, I think, overstates everything that I saw. As great as the wrestling was Saturday night, just him and Cena staring down at each other was a bigger moment.
That's a bigger moment.
Oh,
and,
man.
and by the way, I don't know.
90 seconds. Come on. Rock wrestled for 45 minutes on Saturday.
Hey, 90 seconds is a long time, Jody.
Not when you.
And by the way, I think I was
before.
expecting Stone Cold Steve Austin to be the final, and I think, and I'm not reporting this, but I think Stone Cold is so old school. I think it was holding them up for a bigger payday at the end. I think that was his spot, the Undertaker spot.
Yeah, I saw some of those. All right, that's it. I just had to get.
I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this one more time. No, wait a second. You got 2 women's championship matches, Rhea and Bailey, and they're your 2 winners.
Io Sky's awesome as well.
I agree.
She's unbelievable.
No Mike stuff though.
Wow, she's Japanese. I mean, that's an ugly American approach, Hunter.
Well, I'm just being. It's a big part of wrestling, though. No, it's your mic skills.
Absolutely is. I'm with you on that, Hunter. Sorry to say, if you can't speak the language as well as others.
Well, when they're doing a PLE in Tokyo, she'll be fine.
Well, that's good.
It's an international.
This one was in South Philadelphia. I don't even know if they have a Japanese restaurant down there. That doesn't count.
All they have is Xfinity Live. I'm pretty sure there's not a Japanese spot in there.
I don't think anyone was speaking Japanese in Xfinity Live, even the biggest of EO Sky fans. I'm sorry. There's got to be a delineation between Saturday and Sunday has to be more important. If that's where you're going to have the biggest match in the history of WWE, and Hunter is going to lose his spit over the fact that Rock and Cena stared each other down for 45 seconds, Rhea's got to be on that card. Rhea's got to be in the spot where Bailey fought Io Sky. Let Bailey open up the stupid weekend. Let her go first. Get her out of the way. You can't use your best wrestler, your biggest star first when you're going to run.
Well, you're trying to weigh it a little bit. You know, Sunday's bigger because it gets the main event, but you're trying to give the Saturday people something, and that's why you give them the bigger women's match.
You charge them less. You charge more for Sunday. You know, Sunday.
Well, here's how you do it. You make it one day again, but you know it makes too much money.
Both you guys are trying to cut it back to one. They're not happening.
If anything, it's going to go
reality of that has
it's going 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days.
It's the NFL model. They know they can squeeze the juice out of the lemon. But anyway, it was great, and it's awesome that it was here. And the amount of people that I feel are going to jump into wrestling because of what happened yesterday it's
By
getting hot in the
I've
streets.
never seen, Hunter, so many champions in my life. Grown men walking around with championship belts. I'm like, all right, guys, come on.
John, how about the people who dress up in the tights and all? I can't do the dress in the tights and
these championship belts are like $400 a pop.
I bought this hoodie. How about that? You know what I'm saying? But $600 for those belts.
Really?
$600. I love wrestling. I don't know if I love it.
I love wrestling too, and I'm not wearing a stick.
Yeah, until you guys have me on next week, and I got one sitting over my shoulder.
If you do, we will be impressed. All right, Hunter, we're down to about 18 days until the draft takes place, and we're all going to speculate, have fun on it, overanalyze over the next 2+ weeks. What position is going to be the Eagles' first-round selection? It could be at 22. It could be at 19. It could be back at 26. You know, how he likes to shake and move. And we can't know that. That's as ridiculous as asking you what position they're going to take. What number draft is how the hell do we know? But we do it anyway. Move up, move down, stay right at 22. What position do you think it's going to be? Paint your dream draft scenario in the first round for the Eagles, Hunter.
I'd say if you could trade up and go get a corner, I think maybe that would be my ideal. But do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. No, they're drafting a tackle, and then that's where we go. I mean, that's just what it is.
I love it. Everybody's coming around.
My logical view, just knowing how they operate, is there'll probably be some move. I don't know if it's up or down, but they're going to find a way to get an offensive lineman, and that's what they're doing. What I want them to do, though, I prefer maybe trying to get creative to get something super young, talented that you can. And this is the thing. They always find great corners, but maybe not in the draft. They'll go get their Darius Slay. They'll find a way to make it happen. But I think it's time to get a staple back there, a young player. I know Cooper DeJean is a name that popping, but do you move him to safety? Is he going to play corner? I don't know. But I would like to try and find something young, flashy that you can build around in your secondary. That's what I prefer, but that's probably lower on the list if I'm in Howie Roseman's room.
Yeah.
Do you think the re-signing of Maddox actually has an effect on that? Because they've got him in till he goes out with another injury, but on paper he's healthy today, so he's part of the mix and probably going to run with the ones at the first practice that John McMullen shows up at, which will not be here in actually short order. Do you think that can affect the difference between going O-line and cornerback because they got Maddox re-signed?
In theory, I don't, only because it's a slot corner, right? So I don't think that they're going to say, hey, we got a slot corner, therefore we're not going to go draft.
Slot corner allows them to move Rodgers back outside if he ever gets reinstated.
That's true. I keep forgetting about Isaiah Rodgers because he wasn't there, and they're definitely big on him. So you're right. Maybe, and that's probably part of the philosophy on why they won't go that route, because they feel, hey, we already sort of solidified that in Isaiah Rodgers. So maybe it did. Devontae Maddox stuff, I'm with you again, Jerry. I feel nervous about the injury. I like the amount of money. I get that it's a calculated risk. My big thing is you better have a backup plan ready. I don't want to hear afterwards, hey, injuries really killed us. And once Devontae really killed you, I could have told you 7 months ago that this was going to happen. Right. So you got to have a good backup plan. But I'm okay with trying it and figuring you can give it a shot. It's comfortable. He's been here, blah, 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 but you got to be ready for it. But yeah, I guess you're right. With the Isaiah Rodgers thing, I don't know if they ever envisioned him playing in the slot with Devontae Maddox not here. I know, wasn't Howie asked if Bradbury might move into the slot, and then he kind of shut that down and said more outside. Yeah.
Sean Desai's out on the other coast. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if it impacts it, but I guess if you lay out the Isaiah Rodgers factor, maybe it did.
At Broads81, the great Hunter Brody. Listen to him, Sports Radio, WIP, Broads Media, all over the place. Does a tremendous job. I'll end it. Let's lean in. I'm a Roman Reigns guy, but I accepted going into Sunday night that Cody was going to finish his stupid story. Not happy about it, but that's where we are in life. The more people accept Howie Roseman taking an offensive lineman like you have, and so many people are coming around, that's what the Eagles do. Maybe he throws the curveball. Maybe it's helping. Maybe he does something weird. Maybe it's a corner. Maybe it's a third receiver. Maybe it's Brian Thomas. How about that? LSU. Wishful thinking.
Yeah. I'm saying like, hey, that intrigues, but I don't know if that's really going to happen. Come on. What is it? Mims? Is that where we're going?
Amarius Mims.
There we go in Mims.
That's a very Eaglesy pick. Bro.
The absolute best thing that can happen for John McMullen, Jody McDonald, Hunter Brody, and Sports Talk, wherever it may be, YouTube, radio, podcast, wherever else, that if somehow the best tight end who's come out in the draft in a decade falls to number 22. If Brock Bowers is there at 22, and you know what the commentary would be on TV, why is he falling? What do we not know? And someone will come up with something that isn't necessarily true, but they'll float it out there. I have him ranked as the third best player in the draft. My overall ranking, just talent, positions be damned, no extra evaluation for quarterback. I think he's the third best player in the draft. If you can get him at 22, how do you not take him if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, Brody?
No, you would. No, I mean, look, if their draft board's set up and they have him as fourth or fifth best, and you're at 22, and the offensive lineman's 16 on their board and he's 5, they'll snag him. They're not afraid. Look, we did the Ertz Goddard thing. They're not afraid. We see a little 12 personnel. That's what we'd be breaking down. 13 personnel, 11 personnel, 12 personnel. Let's get this thing rocking. Barkley needs more touches. Run the ball. The whole thing's going to be great. That's what we talk. But then there would be the people going, you saw last year's defense. Bradbury's back.
Right,
He wasn't moved. How do you go tight end?
You're taking a positional player who you've got a Pro Bowl level player already at after that year's defensive collapse. Oh, it'll be great for all.
But that means second round or whatever is lineman. So that means tight end line. Then you're not getting your first defensive player until a minimum the third round. How juicy.
That'll be fun. Hunter, always a pleasure, brother. Thank you very much for hopping in tonight. Glad you had such fun at WrestleMania this week. Remember, next time, 20 years from now, when it comes back again, hold out for Sunday. You got to put the money aside, a little bit more expensive. Hold out for Sunday. Don't go Saturday night.
Actually devastated. When I heard The Undertaker go, I said, I screwed up. I screwed up. Very disappointed. This will be, I told my wife too, she doesn't get it. She's not in a restaurant. I'm like, listen, for the rest of my life, whenever this moment's talked about, the first thing I say is I screwed up that weekend. Like that is engraved into this moment is because I had the option. Hey, you want to go Saturday, Sunday? Saturday. I don't got to worry about work. Idiot.
The only bigger idiot than you is the WWE for not having Rhea Ripley's on Sunday card.
Well, you can take that up with Triple H.
You saw Rhea Ripley and be thankful for it.
That's right. I wish she was doing what she did to Jax, though. No, you know what I'm saying? Did you happen to see that video?
Low stink base. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. It's a shame she didn't do that to Section 117.
She went viral for a certain attribute that she
Section 117, row 26, seat 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, Triple H.
Brody, you're the best. Thanks,
all right,
brother.
see you guys.
Thanks, bud.
See you.
Hunter Brody, WIP, and Broads Media here with us on Birds 365. All right, quickie timeout. We come back. We will put a bow on this show.